Hi everyone, I am Sam and I am just a bloke. Welcome to my YouTube channel. This channel is focused on things like mental health, ethics, morality, how you should treat someone, how you should expect someone else to treat you. I'm going to be going into topics and tackling topics such as depression, maybe anxiety, growing up, or dealing with narcissists, all those sorts of things. And I guess the goal is to provide a sort of unprofessional perspective, in the sense that I'm not a clinical psychologist. I'm not claiming to be some sort of health guru. I'm not an expert in the subject. I am, as the channel suggests, just a bloke. I'm just an average, guy from the UK. Who lives in London, and despite not having a professional status on things, I do think I have a lot of good things to say and a lot of things that people need to hear on these topics. And I think at the moment, in the era that we're currently existing in, with a lot of fake online personas that generate a lot of sort of clout and attention, but we're lacking authenticity. And I think this channel is for every gender, but specifically for men. We lack. There is a pretty severe drought of positive male role models. When you've got people like Andrew Tate cutting about, spouting his ideas on how a man should behave, I'm certainly not aligned with those views, and I think it'd be useful to get someone who's an authentic view on spheres such as mental health, ethics, morality, how to behave, how to be a man, or I guess how to be a person in general. So that's the intro done, I guess. The title of this video is "Why am I so hard on myself?" And this is a question that I'm going to be attempting to, I guess, explore, potentially come up with some answers as to why I am so hard on myself, and I assume if you've clicked on this video, why you are so hard on yourself, and maybe some solutions on how we can deal with it. I mean, at the moment, it's probably my number one thing that I struggle with. And I forgot to mention earlier that this is going to be sort of completely unedited, apart from, I'm going to edit out me clicking the camera on and off, because I'm sure no one really cares about seeing that. But I don't know how to edit a YouTube video, so as much as it is in my self-interest, I also think it's going to help with the authentic side of things. So it's sort of going to be no cuts, just raw as it is. If I start crying, I mean, I'm not going to, film myself sobbing and then upload it to YouTube for 2 minutes. If I start crying and I can't go on, then I'll obviously maybe cut that out. But if I start crying, I start crying. If I get upset, I get upset. And if I have to pause for a second to compose myself and then carry on, then that's fine by me. And I think that's, as much as it's because I can't be arsed and don't know how to edit, I think it's also maybe a different and maybe a more refreshing angle on, hyper edited content. And as much as I want this to be, professional and add value to people's lives, I kind of want it to be a conversation between me and you, whoever's watching this at home. So yeah, back to the topic at hand. Why I am so hard on myself. I think I used to think that my struggles with depression were my biggest challenge, and don't get me wrong, it's certainly up there, definitely in the top 5 of hardest things I've had to deal with. But I think now that I've gotten through that and gotten over that, I think my biggest challenge is ultimately why I am so hard on myself. And I think it's a double-edged sword. It means I expect excellence from myself, and I think, everyone should hold themselves to a high standard, and that can produce some great results just in your career, in your personal life. And I think everyone should expect a lot from themselves, because I think if you don't, then, if you aim for the moon, you'll reach the ceiling, but if you aim for the ceiling, you won't get off the floor. So I think it's a positive aspect that you should expect a lot from yourself, and that you should aim high, and that you shouldn't be happy with mediocrity. And I do believe that you shouldn't be happy with mediocrity. And I think everybody's definition of mediocrity is going to span. You know, you've got to be aiming for what's within your limits, but you shouldn't be happy just coasting along. And I feel like my entire life I've just been coasting along. When I was younger, at school, I've always been quite naturally clever when it came to school, so I didn't really have to try. And through some people's lens, I might have been viewed as excelling because, you know, I was getting good scores in my tests or whatever, and, you know, generally good grades and everything. So from an outside perspective, people, and I know my sister thought, you know, he's doing really well, but I wasn't really trying, and that's not necessarily some sort of flex. If anything, I'm sort of annoyed at myself that I wasn't trying, because I feel like I've just coasted through life. I think I've never really had to put in 100% effort to get what I want, and whilst that may be viewed as a blessing, and don't get me wrong, it's great. It's caused me a lot of, I think, internal struggle and strife because I constantly don't feel like I'm doing enough. And I think maybe it's a sort of defense mechanism in that if I don't put my all into something and it doesn't go right, then I've always got that excuse in the back, like in the back pocket, like, oh, well, I didn't really try, you know. So if I'd have tried my hardest, I would have smashed it easy. But, you know, I didn't really try, so next time I do it, I'm sure if I do it again, I'm gonna do really well. I think it was an excuse. It was a convenient defense mechanism to have. But then I never really actually give it my all. And for the most part, I give enough to achieve what I want. And it's okay. It works, but I don't think that's an intelligent or the way that I should carry on life, because I don't want to get to 80 thinking that I've just gone through half-arsing it. There's a really good quote from Good Will Hunting, which is one of my favourite films, and it's when Ben Affleck and Matt Damon's character are talking, and Ben Affleck says to him, like, you know, one day I'm going to wake up and I'm going to be 40 and I'm still going to be doing this construction job, and that's fine. And I can't remember the exact, but, you know, he says to Matt Damon's character, who's, you know, this genius mathematician, he says, you don't owe it to yourself, you owe it to me, because there are people that would kill to have what you've got, and you're sitting on a winning lottery ticket, but you're too much of a pussy to cash it in. And I guess that's sort of what I feel that I'm doing. And I don't want to get to the end, because you've only got one shot. I don't want to get to the end and be like, oh, well, I could have been so much more. But, you know, I did okay. You know, I did enough to have, by all metrics, a very successful life. But, you know, I could have given more and gotten a lot more. Because I just think I'd be letting myself down, and in a way, sort of everybody down, because as the, you know, the quote says from the Good Will Hunting, like, people would kill to be in the position that I am. And my little sister often used to get very annoyed at me. You know, some of my friends used to get jealous and annoyed because my little sister, bless her, she's fucking tried her ass off for everything that she's done in her life. She's brilliant in some ways, but academically she wasn't, you know, perhaps as gifted as I was, and she had to fight tooth and nail at school to get grades that I got without even blinking, or, you know, not even to get, but, you know, to get not as good grades for me, which I did just not trying. So I feel like I owe it to all the people I know that I try my hardest and give it my all, because if I've got certain qualities that I think are gifts, they need to be used, otherwise they're just wasted. And I guess right now I kind of feel like I'm wasting my potential. And I mean, there's only, as I said, you've only got one shot at life, and I just think it's really important to take it and to live it as fully and as bravely as you can, because I mean, no one knows what's going to happen afterwards, but as far as I'm concerned, I'm not sure there's an afterlife, and I don't really want to take that risk. You know, if there is, great, but if there isn't, in my head there's an equal chance that there is and that there isn't, and I don't want to get to the end thinking, shit, I've wasted it. So yeah, I think that's why I am so hard on myself. My therapist always is constantly, and my mum is constantly telling me, like, you need to give yourself a break. You know, you're doing fine. You need to keep doing what you're doing. And I know that I'm doing fine, and I know that I'm actually doing really well. But I think there's a big difference between knowing it and believing it. And I don't think I believe it yet, because I think all of the things that I do, I expect excellence. So when I deliver excellence, or when I deliver something that's good, I'm like, well, that's the bare minimum. That's just what you do. That's what you have to do. And I don't know why. I think I have to do it because I think a lot of people have depended on me throughout my life. I think, you know, a lot of people, I'm sort of the guy that when someone has a problem, you come to me for advice. You know, a lot of friends have said, you know, like, I feel like I can tell you about my problems, and I can depend on you, and you give good advice. And so I've sort of taken up this role, or this assumed role in my head that, you know, like, I have to be, I guess, perfect, or as close to it as I can get, because others are relying on me to be that. I need to be that so that I can help everybody else. And I think that's not a bad thing to do, because, you know, I love helping people, and that's the whole reason I made this YouTube channel, because I want to, you know, share what I think are good thoughts, and, you know, help as many people as I can with their feelings of self-doubt, self-hatred, depression, anxiety, whatever it is. I want to help. I think that's what I'm best at. But it doesn't leave a lot of room for me, because, for example, if there's an argument happening, I expect myself to diffuse it, and to always be the bigger person, to always make the right decision, because that's what I'd want someone else to do for me, or that's what I expect. You know, that's how the world should carry on. But often, it's not always me, but sometimes it feels like it's always me making those decisions, and it's always me being the bigger person. But that's just what I expect myself to do it all the time, so I'm like, yeah, well, whatever, that's just what I have to do. But it's really tiring sometimes. And I think I've been watching a lot of Theo Von recently, some of the clips from his podcast, and I think because he says he's the same. He's very hard on himself, and I think to myself, he said about it's tiring. It's tiring being this hard on yourself all the time, and it is. It really takes a toll on just everything, really. I mean, I've been beating myself up all this week because I've been meaning to make this YouTube channel and these YouTube videos since bloody, I don't know, Christmas, maybe before that, and it's now May, well, at the time of recording the video. So I've been talking about doing this for sort of 5-6 months, and it's been in the back of my head that whole time. You know, I felt like maybe I couldn't enjoy anything else properly, because, you know, if I did something good, like I was really consistent with the gym. I was going to the gym all the time. I was really smashing it. I was, you know, taking my creatine, eating well, eating right, cooking every day, and I was like, yeah, that's good, like, well done. But in the back of my head, I was thinking, yeah, but you've done that, but you've been talking this big game about recording these YouTube videos, and you've told your therapist about it, and you've told your parents about it, and you've told your friends about it, but you're still not doing that. And I don't know why, but the first thing that comes to mind is, what's wrong with you? Why aren't you doing that? Why? Yeah, okay, brilliant, you've gone to the gym, whatever. You've been going to the gym for years. You're supposed to go to the gym. You're supposed to do that. That's no big deal. So why are you not? What's wrong with you? Why can't you just record this YouTube video? You've been talking about it for months, and it's not that difficult. Why can't you just do it? And that's a really tough things I have to deal with constantly, and it's not always constantly consciously, but I think it's unconscious. It's always there. It's always sort of, you're just always dragging yourself down, and that is exhausting. It's really hard, and I'm sure people watching this can probably relate to how much that sucks. And at the moment, I don't really know how to deal with it or what to do about it. I guess that's not true because I'm doing the video. I'm finally doing it, which I am very proud of myself for doing, because, as I said, I've been talking about doing this for a while, and I mean, I think it all reached a crisis, I guess a sort of boiling point yesterday, where I just felt awful all of yesterday. Just absolutely dreadful. Like, I was riddled with anxiety. I had this, like, and I'm sure everyone knows, but well, not everyone knows, because some maybe, but most people will relate, especially if you're hard on yourself, you're probably also anxious. I had this ball sat in my chest all of yesterday of just anxiety, and it was just like a sphere sat right in between is that your sternum or your rib cage? And I just couldn't shake it. I just felt awful, and it didn't help that I was hungover. I'd gone out drinking on Friday night, and I did that because I thought that would take my mind off it, and it did for a little bit, but when you're feeling pretty rough, alcohol is never the answer, and often just exacerbates the issue as opposed to solves it. But I felt hungover all day, and I said that I'd record this video on yesterday, which was Saturday, and so every moment that went on, I was in no condition to record that video. I was hanging out on my arse. I felt rough, but it was just compounding. I felt more and more each second that passed that I wasn't doing this. The self hatred, I guess, got worse. And I was thinking, well, you've let yourself down again. It's been nearly 6 months you haven't recorded this video for. You talk this game that you're gonna do it, and then again you've ruined it. You've gone out drinking, and now you can't record this video. And I'd been invited to go to Brighton on today, which is Sunday, by my friend, and then I thought, and you're gonna go to Brighton, and that'll be fun, but you won't record the video tomorrow, and then you'll go out and drink again, and then you'll be hungover Monday, and then you won't record the video again, and then before you know it, you're back to work on Tuesday, and then you'll use work as an excuse as to why you can't record the video, and this cycle's going to repeat forevermore. And I was really sort of spiraling, and maybe I wasn't thinking this consciously, but I think unconsciously I was thinking, and you're never going to amount to what you want to amount to, because you've been putting this off for 6 months, and you always put things off. You're a procrastinator, and you're going to wind up at 80 thinking, like, amounting to not nothing, but amounting to nothing compared to what you could have been. I think that's the point. It's, people might look at me, and I've got a pretty good job, I live on my own in London, and by other people's metrics, I'm killing it. But that's nothing compared to what I could be to me, and that's the awful bit, I think, because I struggle to be happy with what I've got, because I'm like, well, yeah, but like, you didn't try to get this, so you shouldn't really be happy with it, because you're not trying hard enough. You're not doing enough. You're half-arsing it, and you shouldn't be happy with half-arsing it. And I do think that, but I think it's also really destructive, because then I'm never really happy with anything that I do, even if it's something really excellent. Like I lost a lot of weight and I really got myself in shape. But I think, well, yeah, that's what you should do. But that's not. That's an excellent thing to have done, and it's something that I should be, and I know that I should be proud of myself for, but it's difficult to do so. Or difficult. I can say I'm proud of myself, but again, I think knowing it and believing it are two different things. But at the same time, I think it's good to be able to. It's good to say that I'm proud of myself, even if I don't believe it, because there's a whole thing of, you are what you feed your mind. And when you say something out loud, you might not believe it straight away, but the more you say it, the more you start to believe it. And I do believe that that's true, and I do think there's power in that. So I'm happy that I'm able to say that I'm proud of myself, even if I don't fully believe it, because, you know, I think that's maybe the very first step in getting there and getting better and not being so awful on myself the whole time. I think, again, Theo Von said it as well. He said he already said someone told him that he's hard to pet, which I really resonated with, because my therapist says, you know, you're doing so well and you should be so proud of myself or yourself and all those things. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but I don't feel that way. And yeah, I'm hard to pet, which I really liked. Well, I don't like that I am, but I like the way it really encapsulated it well. And I imagine if you're watching this video at home or wherever you are, I imagine that that's probably exactly how you feel. But I guess, sort of walking with that analogy, even dogs that are hard to pet, or I imagine dogs in my head, dogs that are hard to pet, you get those like adopted dogs and they've been mistreated all their life and they're really hard to pet, they lash out at anyone that tries to touch them. Eventually, with enough love and care and safety, those dogs eventually allow themselves to be pet. And I guess I'm not calling myself a dog, but with the analogy, I guess that gives me hope, because for me and for all of us that feel this way, because I think although I might be hard to pet now, eventually with enough care and enough self-love, I guess, and enough self-care and enough work, I'll never be easy to pet, maybe, but I'll be a hell of a lot easier to pet than I am now. And I think that's good. That makes me feel nice, and hopefully that gives you guys at home some hope for yourselves too. Because I think the most dangerous thing is like a lack of hope, is you feel like you're never gonna get over it, and that's more on the depression side, which I actually had. I've had a video script written about depression for fucking months, I think, but I sacked that off. I'm gonna make videos about depression because I do think I have a lot of unique things to share about that, and I want to be able to share my experience with you guys. But the reason that I sacked that video off instead of this one for the time being is because I wrote this script, but it felt so artificial, and to be honest, I had no idea how, I didn't want to buy a teleprompter to have to read the script and look at the camera at the same time, and it all just wasn't my style. So I was like, right, screw that, we're just gonna make a video, no edits, which I said earlier, like no edits, no cuts, just me talking at the camera, because this feels a lot more natural. I feel like I'm having a conversation with you guys at home, and this is just two people talking, which is the kind of vibe that I'm going for. So yeah, I do. Oh, what was I talking about? Yes, a lack of hope. But I imagine that's how you guys feel, and I feel like sometimes that's how I feel, because I procrastinate a lot. I've been doing it my whole life. I don't think I can actually say that I've ever given my all to anything. I don't think I can genuinely say that, which sucks. But because obviously that's. So basically what I'm saying, my entire life I've never been able to give my all to anything. And that scares me, because then I think, well, you've never done it your entire life. What makes you think that's going to change? And maybe it feels to me like it's never going to change. And that's that sort of lack of hope that I guess I'm alluding to in that, you don't feel like it's ever going to, nothing's going to change because it's how you've always been. But I am a big believer in that just because it's how you've always been doesn't mean that's how you're going to be for the rest of your life. Everyone's got the power to change, and again, I'm quoting Theo Von a lot, and nothing changes if nothing changes. But thankfully, for me, the change that I've made this week was recording this video, and I'll be honest, it's a massive weight off my shoulders, even though this is something that I think I'm going to love and something that I hopefully want to make a career out of. It's a massive weight to have recorded this off my shoulders, because I've been just shitting on myself for months for not doing it. And that's just not normal, I guess, because I've been going through a lot in the last 6 months when I think about it. You know, I moved out seven months ago. No, 5. I think it's 7 months ago. And that's been great. And moving out was one of the best things I've ever did. I love it. So in my head, I've been thinking, you know, oh, life's been sweet since I moved out, and it has by and large. But there's also been a lot of stuff that I've gone through just this year alone in these past 5 months, and some pretty rough stuff that's happened. And as my therapist said to me, he was like, "You clearly just weren't ready to film the video. You know, you need to be ready for it. You need to, because you want to. I wanted to give it my all, and I want to do it properly, and I want to give you the best. You all watching at home, the best version of myself, and you know, and I want to be able to provide that for you guys, because I think it's what you, and I think it's what we all deserve. But I clearly just haven't been ready for it because I've been dealing with some stuff. But this marks. I think this is a historic day for me, in that I've been thinking about doing something like this for ages, and to finally be able to say that I've started it is really, really big. I think I'm probably going to end the video there. I think I've sort of said, I've definitely explored why I'm hard on myself. In terms of how we can combat that, I guess I didn't really delve into that maybe as much as I would like. I don't know if I have the answers to that right now, if I'm honest with you guys. I think it starts with just, I guess I partially answered it in that, you know, even if you don't think it, or even if you don't believe it, just say it out loud. And it sounds stupid. Well, it's not, but it's, you know, if you're like me, I was like, oh, that sounds stupid. Like, why am I going to say it if I don't believe in it? But I do think that helps. And maybe maybe I'll do this going forward. But if I was a teacher and I was to set you guys some homework, I would say your one piece of homework is to just, when you do something good, even if that's what you expect yourself to do, and this is homework for me too, because I am, you know, I'm giving advice, but I'm the biggest hypocrite in that sense, because I am literally my own worst enemy and my worst critic, and this is probably, I think, my biggest issue at the moment, is how ruthless I am when it comes to judging myself. So this is homework for me as much as it is for you guys too. But if you do something good, whether or not it's good in comparison to what you think you should be doing. So say if I went to the gym, and even though I go to the gym every week and I expect to go to the gym, because that's just what that's what I think I should be doing, just say I'm going to do it too. I'm proud of myself for going to the gym today, or I don't know, I'm proud of myself for getting out of bed today when I really didn't want to, or I'm proud of myself for, I had a really difficult day at work, but I'm proud of myself for getting through it. And I think the more we say it, even though we don't believe it, because I don't at the moment fully, I don't know if I ever will, but you know, the more we believe it, the more we say it, the more likely we are to believe that it's true. And I think eventually, if we say it enough, you genuinely will start to believe it. So I guess that would be my homework for all of us, me included. And also, if you guys who are watching this have heard of any advice from, I don't know, your therapist, your friends, your family, or you know, anything that you want to share about how you think we can get over this sort of issue, or if you just want to share your experience in the comments, then please, by all means. Like, I want this to be a sort of open. This channel is both a safe space, but a really open forum to just, you know, if you're feeling really, even if you're feeling really shitty about yourself, and I guess if you don't think you've got anyone to tell, you've got me to tell. I'm your friend now. We're friends now. So if you feel like, you know, you're really beating yourself up, because I'm lucky that I've got my parents, I've got, you know, a lot of friends, I've got a support network. But I guess part of the reason that I made this channel is because a lot of people might not have that support network. So if you don't feel like you've got anyone to tell, or if you've got something to share, you've got some useful advice, or you just want to vent and you don't feel like you've got anybody else to speak to, leave it in the comments. And you now have someone to speak to, even if it is some random 25-year-old British dude in London. It doesn't really matter as far as I'm concerned. If you liked this video, and if you've got any constructive criticism on how I can improve going forward, please feel free to comment that as well. If you liked it, like the channel, subscribe. You know, I want to help as many as I want to help as many of you as I can, and the only way that I can continue to help more people is if, you know, you like the videos, you subscribe. So yeah, thank you very much, guys, and I'll see you in a bit.